Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. This is the Redmen Originals Podcast. I'm Steve Hall. I am joined by Redmen Original Dan Club and our two special guests today. Although they are Redmen Originals as well in their own unique ways. We've got Luke and we've got Josh. Yeah, part one, of course. We are going to be talking about Liverpool's dramatic late win at Newcastle United, because why wouldn't we be talking about that one? Second part of the show, transfer window's open. We're going to be discussing transfers as well. A little challenge for the guys in the middle in terms of ranking their favourite moments against Newcastle. We'll get to that later. Get your thinking hats on. I'm not even sure you two are old enough for some of them. I am. We're borderline. Before we do start though, thank you so much to our season-long sponsors, oosh.co.uk. If you click the link in the description of this video, or indeed any of our videos at any point, they have a draw going on for hospitality tickets for Liverpool versus Everton in the derby. And keep an eye out on our socials a little bit later today, because there is a free giveaway of 2 tickets, hospitality tickets again, for this weekend's big game against Arsenal. So that will be on our socials. So keep an eye out. Around 5 o'clock, we're giving those away. But yeah, thanks to Oosh, they're the best. They're boxing everyone off with boss prizes. We've had people at the Community Shield. We've had people at the game yesterday. We've had people going to the Arsenal game. Can't wait to continue to give you guys some boss stuff. Speaking of boss stuff, in the end, that game yesterday was boss. We're going to get there eventually, Dan. I'll start with you first, mate. I'm going to start with the hot topic that everyone wants to talk about.
Go on.
Ref cam.
Yeah.
What the fuck is ref cam for?
Yeah, it did dawn on me sort of midway through the second half that the one incident we were all desperate to actually see from the ref's perspective, we hadn't actually been shown yet. And just to see how he came up with the decision not to send off Anthony Gordon and what he did sort of witness in that moment. But yeah, I don't know. I know they trialled it during the summer, didn't they? Like pre-season tournaments and stuff like that. And it's obviously a new innovation and whatever, but it's not for me. I don't think they did it with Youri Tielemans, like a player perspective, didn't they, at one point? And that scared the life out of me how fast Premier League games were, to be honest with you. Fucking hell. But yeah, I don't know, ultimately. It was quite cool. The Gravenberch goal from behind wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, aside from that, I'm not sure. Can I ask, actually, it just dawned on me as I was speaking, the whole Sky Sports stuff they were talking about in terms of like half-time interviews with managers and dressing room, none of that's been a thing. TNT
have done it a couple of times. I heard them speaking to Thomas Frank in the City game. But I find it baffling, though, that the only thing you need ref cams for is to see the referee's view of a decision. And we didn't get that. What we did get was Ibu Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Dan Burn laughing in his face a couple of times. I mean, honestly, I know you're on the ground.
I need educating on this ref cam.
Have you ever? It's like basically any video game where, like Doom or like where you're the view of the person. Yeah. It's just that, except the one thing we all wanted to see, it didn't show us.
It's like a GoPro. That's kind of what
it's on his chest.
The ref's got a GoPro on his chest.
It's not a bit low if it's on his chest. It's a bit, it's not really like it's POV.
The thing I liked about
it can't be on his head, Luke. It can't be like a mine.
The thing I liked about it was when he ran, you could see his little arm going like that. Like, I thought that was quite funny. But
I think Paul said it better. He was like, you can tell even more that he runs like a fat guy. As a bald fat guy, I can relate to how Simon Hooper ran. Yeah, it was mad. Show next time. I'm all for innovation. Show us the whole point is we want to see what he can see when he doesn't send people off. We didn't get that.
It's probably because he could see it too clearly and decided not to throw him under the bus by showing everyone what he could see, and then we all turn around and say, well, why didn't you send him off? That's why they've not shown us. As simple as that.
He's clearly not looking at it. Or you can tell that it's absolute crap that he's made that decision, and we're not going to ever see that one yet. It was very much like a GoPro. I thought it was the best thing of the game. Maybe the worst. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the actual footy then. I suppose that's what you want us to do, you big bores. Talk about the footy. Dan, I'll come back to you. We've made better starts to football matches.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think we move on from that point. Is that all right? No, we have. We definitely have. And it was always going to be really, really difficult, wasn't it? The opening 2025. We often speak about when you go away from home, certainly into an atmosphere like that, you've got to ride it out. You might have to weather a little bit of a storm, silence the crowd, any old cliche you want to insert there, really. But yeah, this was that and then some, given the narrative that came with that game. And the fact that it'd been built up in such a way, obviously, and certainly when it comes to Newcastle fans, I think from a playing point of view, we were quite detached from that as Liverpool, which is good and smart. The players clearly bought into them mantra. You know what I mean? And that was obviously evidenced by some of the tackles that went in. Don't think the ref helped whatsoever in terms of his balance of decisions, just added fuel to that particular fire. So, yeah, it was a really, really messy start for Moz. I don't think we won enough duels. I don't think we were quite physical enough. I don't think we matched them enough in the opening 20. We didn't really stand up to the challenge, but we got through it, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Interesting, because you were there. Obviously, you're high up in the gods at Newcastle. You can barely seeing what's going on that tiny little ants pitch behind you, but it did feel, again, please let me know about the atmosphere. I don't know if Liverpool couldn't get out because they couldn't play football, or they were trying not to play football and they were just trying to kick it along to Cody Gakpo and trying to settle things down. First of all, what was the atmosphere like? And B, what was your assessment of how Liverpool were trying to get through that opening first 20 minutes?
I probably agree with Dan a bit. I think we were probably trying to weather a storm pre-match. The atmosphere was nuts. It was probably one of the most intimidating away grounds I've been in. And it's because both fans were just back and forth, giving at each other, but it was so loud, it was almost deafening. And then, obviously, we get into the game, and the first 10, that atmosphere carries on, but after Newcastle don't get the early goal, it sort of trickles out. It just becomes what it is every other year, just a normal away game. And I know Gordon has that massive opportunity, doesn't he, when the ball comes into the box. Is that on about 20 minutes or something like that?
25, yeah.
But apart from that, I thought we did all right. I know we were losing a lot of individual battles, and I think the referee didn't help, because I think, in my opinion, he's ruining the flow of the game. And then we were also getting increasingly frustrated because we just felt like we weren't getting any decisions. A lot of them were very soft in that opening 20, and a lot of them weren't going our way. But because the game was so stop-start, I don't think that helped Newcastle either, because they couldn't really get a proper foot. There was no rhythm. They couldn't get a foothold either. So
yeah, it was very much, there was no rhythm. I think that suited them, because I think they wanted to play set pieces. We were quite lucky that their first 25 minutes, their set pieces were crap. They got better later, of course, but it was interesting. Josh, I'll come to you, because we spoke a couple of weeks ago about, will the manager do anything different because it's Newcastle away, maybe not play Ekitike, does he go for a change of shape or whatever. In the end, his hand was kind of forced of it, because we had no right backs and Alexis McAllister's unavailable. So looking at the players he's got, he has to go. Szoboszlai, Jones, McAllister, Wirtz all have to play. You'd expect, in theory, when you name those names, for Liverpool to be able to get on the ball and keep the ball and maybe calm things down that way. Again, I go back to it. I don't know if it's because we couldn't, because they were pressing us, or was the idea just to web it towards Cody Gakpo and try and win some throw-ins? Because eventually that does work, by the way. Very pragmatic if it's the latter, but I haven't quite figured out if it's just Newcastle being good or Liverpool just having a real clear plan of, we're just going direct and we're trying to settle this down as best we can.
Yeah, no, to be fair to them, I think they were just so intense. They were, for a long, long time. I think it took about 35 minutes for them to actually breathe, and they dropped back and
that's when we scored.
That's when we scored. But up until that point, it struck me as the kind of game, when Gary Neville speaks about Ferguson's approach to coming to Anfield, where you just weather the first 20 minutes and you don't actually do anything, you just survive, and it's just about getting a foothold and then you grow in the game.
I agree.
It was a bit like that for me, where we just had to stay in there, just not concede. Alisson was going along with all the goal kicks. There was no I thought we were distinctly almost scared to play through the middle. There was, how often was Van Dijk on the ball or Canales on the ball, and he was just unwilling to. He was just literally putting the studs on it at times and unwilling to play through the middle because of the dogs that they've got in there. So just a really different kind of game. You don't see games like that. I think there was something like 32 fouls in the game.
40 minutes ball and play.
Exactly.
There's more fouls in the opening 20 than there ever had been, I think, wasn't it, in the Premier League games? Even Michael V put something like that up to that. But you're right. What I will say is, to the point, I think you're absolutely spot on in terms of Liverpool weren't necessarily trying to play our football and our brand because it just wasn't on, and Newcastle weren't allowing us. But I do also think in the same breath that we didn't help ourselves. When we did occasionally try and string 2 or 3 passes together, they went awry too often. I remember Mo Salah playing a blind one around the corner just into no man's land, and Newcastle picked it up, and away they come again. There was a moment where you thought the counter might be on and we misplaced that pass. So I don't think it helps when there is no rhythm in the game, and also when you haven't really managed to do anything yet. When you get the opportunity, you're not quite sharp enough. So yeah, I do think it was more, like I say, more of a case of Liverpool just saying, we don't need to attack them for half an hour. Let's get through half an hour and see what happens.
That was kind of my point. So is it by design or is it by because we're being forced into it? It felt to me like it was more design, and because the one out ball he could get was Cody Gakpo, and once they started getting that right, it worked. Kieran Trippier was either fouling him, giving a throw-in away, getting the pull up the pitch. So it felt a bit like, again, going back to Rafa Benitez, European away performance, we just for half an hour we're doing nothing. You aren't getting we're not going to make a mistake. The goalie didn't have to make a save. Alisson doesn't have to make a save for that first half an hour. It's just trying to get through things and calm down. Josh is right to say, Luke, that you can't press like they were pressing for all game. They'll kill themselves. I mean, they kind of did that eventually. And they got with too many injuries and stuff, but they did have to set back. And I wonder, the second they do that is when we score. Like it's the first time when Gordon isn't sprinting around everywhere and they're not going mad, and they stand off Liverpool about 3 different times, and in the end they give Gravenberch the opportunity to shoot, which he takes. I think it's probably going in without a deflection. The deflection he certainly helps, but what I loved about it was that Liverpool, in that moment, maybe recognised, oh, right, okay, we can actually play some footy here and play pretty good footy to score that goal.
We moved it well, and I didn't expect them to take the shot on at all.
Did you know it was a goal? Because I was watching on telly, I had no idea.
I didn't think it was going to go in. So from where I was, so high up, like looking down on it, I thought it was going to just about go wide of the post. And then it sort of just comes in the bottom corner, and I was just gobsmacked. I couldn't believe it was in the net. But I think Josh is right in terms of, like, we were going long a lot, but we had maybe 1 or 2 instances where we managed to play ourselves out, and I think that helped us grow in confidence. But it was almost overplaying. It was almost like 5-6 passes before we could even get into the midfield. So I think that's why we were going long, and then obviously Gakpo with the outball was working for us. But just to touch on back with the cards again, just to bring it back a minute, like Gravenberch just booked after 8 minutes, isn't he? And like, I don't want to give the ref too much stick, 'cause I felt like, what much can you do really when both teams are flying into challenges like someone's going to get a booking early on? But I don't even think it was a case of him like losing control of the game too much. I just think it was like, it was just fiery one. It was
difficult
really
game to ref. I'll give him that, but he never had control of the game. And the Gravenberch, the only thing was it was the first foul we'd given away, so optically it doesn't look great because he goes to his card straight away. I think Trippier had fouled Wirtz at that point, and there'd been one or two. Joe Linton had obviously committed his first foul at that point as well. But the Gravenberch one is a nailed-on yellow card.
It
is a nailed-on
yellow. Both of Liverpool's yellows are yellows. It's more the fact that he'd let them. You are
exactly,
right. It had got scrappy. Interesting on Gravenberch, Josh, because he doesn't score. Like that's just not that's his first goal in a year and a half or something. Like it was April 24. He scored against Fulham. When he first arrived, he scored a few because he's playing further forward. Since we've moved him a little bit, it has changed. He doesn't score goals in that number 6 position. Interesting to see that he's got that in his locker, nice to have. But also, it is very calm, because I actually thought he'd had a pretty rough half an hour. Like, he'd been booked. He'd give the ball on the halfway line, which led to him getting counted on. But it was a very calm finish. He noticed basically no one's pressing me. I might as well have a go here.
Yeah, I actually felt that we noticed the difference of having him on the pitch personally. I know it was a difficult game for him. The midfield department especially was just full of like intensity in there, so you couldn't really get on the ball. But when we could, I thought he was showing. I thought he was trying to play forward and things like that. He played a few nice balls into Wirtz's feet. He takes the shot as well, and it's absolute pinpoint. By the way, I understand why you didn't think it was in, because it couldn't have been more in the corner, mate. Honestly, great effort. Like, and we've seen him have a few goals from distance, and usually they do pull wide. So for him to just hit the target, you know, Nick Pope's got no chance. So I thought it was nice to have him back. I just can't wait for him to play with McAllister now.
Yeah, because at some point, since we won the league against Tottenham, those who haven't been on the pitch together, at some point that might happen, depending on how fit Alexis is. Back to the Gakpo thing, Dan. Cody Gakpo again, quietly 2 assists yesterday. He's kind of been Cody Gakpo level. He can be quiet, but it was obvious that Liverpool had picked their battles across the pitch. Josh, you're right. There's no way we're firing into midfield because they're just dogs and they're going to be all over us and you might get turnovers. The only way they're going to hurt us is set pieces or transition. They're not going to play through us. They haven't got the players sitting the forwards. If Alexander Isak's on the pitch, that might be a different story, of course. But Liverpool's game plan was clearly Gakpo against Trippier, and it did get them some success. And to be fair to Gakpo, he on the fringes of it a lot, but he does have some telling impacts in the game.
No, he does, absolutely, and he often does, as you say. And he came in for a little bit of criticism last night, I saw, and I think it was unjustified, actually, because I think you're right. Whilst it was particularly difficult in that first opening half an hour, he was our route out, and I think he actually did a decent enough job. And it was a battle against Kieran Trippier, because we can argue who was most up for it from Newcastle point of view, but Trippier will be in that conversation because he was fiery. You know, really getting stuck in. I mentioned the foul on Wirtz a moment ago, battling Cody Gakpo all the time in that corner. So, yeah, I was pleased with Gakpo's impact again. He has become really, really important to us, let's be honest. And
with all due respect, we haven't got no one else. We might have now. We might have, but...
I was going to say, yeah, up until last night, very late on, it was literally his shirt and nobody else was having a look in. So, yeah, he might feel a little bit of added responsibility in terms of that as well. And maybe he knows now he is the senior figure over there. He hasn't got a battle for his place. And that can go one or two ways, I think, when there's competition. You can sort of grow into that and sort of own it a little bit, or you can just relax. I think Cody Gakpo's the former.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he'd done all right, especially at times when he was the outball and Liverpool needed to get out. I'll come back to you on this one, Luke, because obviously in the stadium, I want to talk about the red card and stuff, but it felt like, because the build-up to this has been so furious. I mean, how dare Liverpool bid for a footballer? Not allowed to do that. That's unallowed. There's been, I can't wait for them to get to St James's Park. You know, Anthony Gordon spoke last week, straight after the Villa game. You know, it's gonna be a game. It's gonna be fiery after what's all gone on. At times, it did feel they had lost it a little bit. And I'm not saying like they were throwing punches or their heads had gone red mist, mad style where people are throwing punches, but there's it felt like they just tipped over the line in terms of for their own benefit, really. Again, too many fouls, getting themselves booked, and then the red card comes because Liverpool scored a goal. He wants to whip that crowd back up again. He thinks if I sprint him down, I lay one on Van Dijk, could get one, it's going to go mad again. Did you know straight away from the way you were it was a bad one? And did you get the sense that it was that the boiling point, it was just starting to tip over slightly too much from Newcastle's point of view?
Like we knew it was a nasty one, but from where you are, you're so high up and you're also behind. Like you weren't sure where he catches them or how high it is just because you're so far away. But everyone knew it was a bad one, and everyone was jumping straight away like you've got to be booked there, because I think that at that point no Newcastle players booked it. We've got Kanate and Gravenberch booked, no one's booked for Newcastle. So everyone's like, well, he's defo getting a card at least, and then obviously Van Dijk stays down, Alisson comes running over, and you think, oh, this is a little bit worse than it is, and the crowd starts whipping up then, and then obviously he goes to the monitor, and as soon as he goes to the monitor, he's going to have a decision to make, because if he's being sent there 9 times out of 10, he's going to agree with it, isn't it? And then obviously he gets sent off, doesn't he? And then we're all singing a blue shite to him. Great, by the way. But I think what you're touching on there with the whipping the crowd, like Odegaard's well up for that, and Bruno was well up for that yesterday as well. He was all over the crowd all game. But I think the big challenge is going to have to go one or two ways, and that was one way where you go too far and you get yourself sent off. Then, as we'll touch on in a little bit, I think Byrne puts a big one in and Gomares puts a big one in the second half, and they go on to get the goals. So it's one of them. It can have and go one or two ways for you. It
just feels like, in hindsight, Josh, we should have known that the Evertonian fellow was going to get sent off in this game, because Paul made a good point on the watch along yesterday of it was prime. What Jurgen Klopp used to talk about in derbies all the time is that the opposition just we wind them up. It's sort of about playing Liverpool at certain times, Everton, and it wasn't like they were being dirty. They were just trying to win that big tackle and get the crowd on side, and someone can end up just doing something stupid. I go back to the Funes Mori one on Origi, which is a stinker. It's just because he's patting his chest as he walks off. It did feel like going into the game, the worry was going to be, from a Liverpool point of view, is someone going to get hurt? Thankfully Virgil wasn't. From a Newcastle point of view, that's such a hard, when you play that emotional, it can be really, really dangerous, and I think Anthony Gordon found the negative. Emotional football is great, it's won Liverpool trophies, but there's a difference between emotional football, like angry emotional football, and it felt like Newcastle maybe just with that side of the line, which is why he ends up getting himself red carded.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much a Goodison derby, wasn't it? That's pretty much what it was. I think if you watched it black and white, if you watched it in silhouettes or whatever, shadows, you'd have thought that was you were watching the Merseyside derby at Goodison. Lots of intensity, but the way the channeling of it often boils over with Everton, and it boiled over with Newcastle in this game as well. It's funny because I think Gordon was their best player up until the sending off. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was causing us major problems. He was rolling Kanate and everything. But it's a stupid challenge. It's one of them where he wants a clap from the crowd, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he gets it. He gets it, by the way. There's on the replays of it where he goes right through Van Dijk. There's divvies in the background going, wait, like made up and that. 2 minutes later, the player's leaving the pitch because he's been sent off. So it's ultimately very stupid, but it goes back to that, the rivalry and all that nonsense, wanting to get the crowd up. I think he says after the game he wanted to inject energy into it or something like that, he said. But you've been sent off, mate, so it's just silly, innit?
He was way too emotionally involved, wasn't he? He was just way too emotionally invested in it.
I think there's a few of them probably fell foul of that and veered into the angry side.
Dan Byrne, which is, I don't usually, I usually associate Dan Byrne with being quite chill. Is he a big,
he's a Geordie though?
Yeah. Second half, he slides in on Florian Wirtz, doesn't he? And there's absolutely no need for it. You can just tap the ball out of play, but he's just trying to clean him.
They've all bought into the Newcastle story, haven't they, in the past couple of weeks? That's as simple as that, isn't it? We've managed to play the game, not the occasion. They've been the flip reverse of that, and they've gone, again, overzealous on one or two occasions. And the Gordon one, as you say, he's clearly trying to think, because that is the perfect opportunity to charge down Van Dijk's clearance, give away a throw-in, and the crowd's up. Off we go again. He's just got it all wrong. I must admit, on first viewing, I didn't think it was a red card. I thought he's late. He's clearly caught Van Dijk, but didn't see him as high. And then when you watch it again, you see his sock come down with it, and then you see what he's left on his calf. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, Stonewaller. And we should have thankfully Beard was all right. That's a bad one. That was a really bad one. He
cost his team, Andy Gordon. Let's have it right.
Well,
I know he come back into it, so fair play. But even the injuries, you can't blame him necessarily. But his teammates have had to work extra hard hard to cover for what he's left behind.
There's no surprise that muscle injuries happen when
you're down to 10. You're trying to work at that intensity as well and get back into a game of footy.
I reckon he's made his own bed a little bit, maybe with the comments last week as well. You know what I mean? Like, he's made their own bed now. Now it's time to lie in it, mate. And there's loads of pressure on him because their goal scoring record without a forward is terrible. And then he's the one through the middle. You know what I mean? So he really has let them down.
And he'd missed a couple of chances beforehand and stuff. So it's all played into it. There were times I was thinking the atmosphere is going to be intimidating, but I felt like they just overstepped it slightly with their own team. And I get it because
it's a one-sided beef, Steve. It's can't blame others. It's they've made their
Angry
own
man shouted cloud a little bit. They had built it up in such a way where it was such a huge deal, where it did feel like, and I'm sure Arne Slot would have been absolutely hammering this message home, that we're just there to play football and to try and get away with 3 points. Don't get caught up in the emotions of it and all it means to them. Like, just come, do your job and try and get out of there, and we did.
Yeah, so second half they used the emotion in the right way. First half I thought they were way too aggressive for themselves. They kept just fouling us and they just kept breaking the play up, which isn't exactly what they wanted. Half time then comes and goes, down it's 2-0 very, very quickly, and it's another worldy finish. Like, this lad's it's mad because of all the signings, I think we all just thought Vert's banker, Kerker's banker, Frimpong banker, questions about Hugo Ekitike. It's kind of the other way around. Although they're still finding their feet, it's very early days. It's not writing anybody off. Ekitike's took to this like a duck to water. It's been unbelievable. He does everything pretty much spot on here, and he's scored 3 goals from edge of the box, outside of the box, whatever. And they've been amazing finishes. Like the type of finishes that Liverpool strikers haven't scored consistently for quite a while, really.
He's made it look quite easy, hasn't he,
as
well? And he has been exceptional. And it is the dream start to Liverpool. I made the point a few weeks ago, pre-Community Shield, like what a start it would be, get your account off and running straight away. Like, that's the absolute ideal scenario. He's done that and then backed it up twice more. Like, fair play to him. And you're right, a lot of the talk, and this was partly due to the fact that the Isak rumours came around so quickly after signing Ekitike that we all he was the forgotten man instantly. He was yesterday's chip paper, literally straight away. But he has proven us to be wildly inaccurate with that. He's been exceptional, and I think last night was also the case too. His all-round game's been really impressive. Maybe that was lacking ever so slightly, but it wasn't really game for that. Arne Slot made the point. No actual football played until like the 100th minute was the late on, but the goal, the finish is right out the top drawer. It really is. And you made the point there about the other new signing. I do believe it is still a case of like when, not if, with all of them they will come good for Liverpool. But Ekitike, there are no more question marks around him. Like, the lad's got it.
I mean, there's a 150 million pound striker potentially. You guys were singing hand them over to them yesterday, Luke. Like, I've got a question. We've got a super chat from Aaron Garza, 17 points, got that wrong. Says, given Ekitike's form, would splashing the 130 million be a smart move? Wouldn't Gay and a proper backup striker and a winger make more sense with that money? Like, I get it, Isak's that good, you probably just spend the money because he's brilliant. But Liverpool at this moment in time, if you said what's really lacking in their first 11, I don't think anyone's saying Liverpool are desperate for a centre forward here, given how well he's performed.
No, definitely not. And I don't think it's just like he's gone missing in like a Liverpool space. Like, for example, on the journey on the way down and that, we had Talksport on yesterday, and they're talking about like Sesko versus Gyökeres, who's going to be like the next big signing. You know what I mean? And you're like, this fella's going well under the radar, not just in our space, just in the Premier League as a whole. Because he's turned up and he just lit it up. And I think he was unfortunate yesterday because I do think he was getting bullied a bit first half. Like, he just couldn't get anything down. He misplaced a few passes. Then after he come off after half time, I was still eating a pie, mate, and he's put one in the net. I was absolutely made up. So
at least you were there. The boss wasn't even there yet.
Yeah, I know, he's still walking out.
Arne Slot was still having his cup of tea. It's interesting, Josh, because we spoke a lot on the deep dive last couple of weeks, and we'll probably do the same tomorrow when we do the deep dive on how well I'm impressed you've been with Ekitike. Yes, it was a bit different because you've been really impressed with the link-up play and work in midfield and whatever. Didn't really have a chance to do that, but yesterday he got one chance and scored it. And sound, like, do that, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's generous, though. I think it's a half chance of anything.
It isn't one that if that gets blocked or what, you're not going out to sitter. It's not an easy chance, and he bends it really well.
He finds the corner even more than Gravenberg, which I've just mentioned before.
It's almost impossible to do.
Honestly, it's two absolute top quality finishes from the parent, to be fair. But Ekitike, we've seen a few instances of that now. He seems to be quite composed and. Yeah. But I think what I like about him as well, he always seems to be really in control of the shot. He side foots everything. Like we haven't really seen too many efforts with his laces yet. He seems to be, kind of like Henry-esque finishes. I think I've seen people compare him to Henry actually, and I don't want to say I see it because you're talking about the best Premier League player ever, probably in Thierry Henry, but there's shades of him in there, and he's still only a kid as well. So yeah, there's lots to like, and he's got a high ceiling.
The composure's the one that's getting me every time, because I was told, and I didn't watch every game, can't watch every game as well, but like, he's a bit, what's the word, rash at times, or like his finishing's the one thing that maybe up and down he's been anything but that. He's just, and he hasn't blasted them, he hasn't done anything, he's just found corners down, and there's just, this Robbie Fowler used to do that a lot, just find corners. Just goalies can't save them, it's impossible, especially giant goalies who are never going to get down there. He scored 3 goals for us now, because I've decided, even though we lost it, I'm going to count the Community Shield as a game, because I'm banging into Ekitike stats, and it feels like narrative better. Yeah. 3 glorious goals, 3 glorious finishes, all from relatively what you'd call half chances. The one against Bournemouth is the best, which you get a bit of luck for, but like none of them are ones where you think it's an absolute whale. He sits it if he misses it, but he's done really well to find these goals. So 3 and 3, what a start! Like it's best since Sturridge is the last lad to score 2 in 2 league games. Like he's on that level now where he's really early doors cemented himself as a top player for us.
Yeah, and again, I made the point a week or so ago, like it's his shirt until it isn't, and he's clearly looked at that and gone, yeah, I'll make the most of my opportunity here and see what happens, see what will be when it comes to transfers and what have you. But he has been unbelievable, like he really has, and all 3 finishes are special, and I think last night might be the pick of the bunch for me personally, in the manner with which he takes it, the composure, as Josh rightly mentions as well. Like it's just, I don't want to speak ill of the likes of Darwin Núñez, who's no longer with us, like, but you just don't see him score that goal, do you? Let's be honest. Like,
maybe at Newcastle, like, but nowhere else.
Yeah, maybe there.
Because ironically, that's the one ground he found corners in.
I was so not like him in any way, was it? But no, you're right. But you're right, actually, to mention the fact that a lot of the talk around him was how it was all around playing his link-up play and the way he used to interact with Marmoush and whatever. That was really sort of honed and complete side of his game. It was the finishing that he needed working on. Well, the early signs for me are that he doesn't really need to work on a lot. Maybe he's heading.
Yeah,
heading in front of the goal might need a little bit of ironing out. But aside from that, he's ever thereabouts.
We'll cross that bridge. You wouldn't be able to see this, obviously, Luke, because you're high up in the stands. But Josh, it was interesting every time the camera panned to him, because they were trying to get, they crowded on him, their players. There's a couple of times when a few of them were barging into him and pushing him, and he was just laughing in the face, and he was just smiling. And I thought, there's a fella, this is intense. They've been him, obviously, they wanted to sign him. He's a young kid in a hostile atmosphere. I said, we keep comparing him to other players, and I'm going to do it again. Like, that's how Fernando Torres used to act against all these big brutes who tried to boot him in the air. He used to get up and smile, laugh at them, pat them on the crack on wheel, carry on. Suarez a little bit did that at times, just laugh in the face. It was interesting that he was that calm, because usually young lads, big fee, ground where they're being hostile against them. Everyone knows they're trying to sign another striker as well. It can be very easy to be all over the place, but it showed how calm he was, that he was just like, yeah, whatever, lads, I'm just going to play footy.
He won't face much worse than that. He won't face much worse than that when it comes to like the hostile environments and players getting really physical with you, players standing on your heels and standing on your toes and all that stuff. So he's got the worst out of the way there, and he's got a goal in the bag as well. And you mentioned about the laughing there. Gravenberg did the same at one point to I think Bruno towards the end of the game. Van Dijk was similar at times, just walking up like they were ultimately fuming for 90 minutes, right? But at no point did we stoop to that level. Like we ultimately, in a weird sort of way, have no reason to hate them. Like we just want their best player. That's it. And they're not happy about it. So they have every reason to hate us, but we absolutely didn't need to go to that level where we start playing it like it is Everton, like it is Man United, because it's ultimately not. It is just another game for us, and I just love the way we applied that on the pitch.
Yeah, spot on. That was fair to say. Like Liverpool just played the footy, let them do all the madness. And it was Liverpool didn't deal with a lot in the second half, well, but I felt they dealt with the aggression or Newcastle's tactics. They were clearly trying to get people yellow carded and get into fights and stuff, and Liverpool did deal with that well. Right, that's a lot of good stuff there. There'll be some more good stuff coming in a moment, Dan. But let's start with what happened here. And that's what I've got. From the minute we score until the 99th minute. Might be as bad as I've ever seen Liverpool play for long. That was really poor. Like they couldn't do anything.
We didn't have a shot, No,
didn't have a shot. Yeah. Rio's goal was the next shot after Ekitike shot. We had more men, and it looked like they had more men. Corners, fouls, free kick. It was just like for the team we praise for the game management of the first 25-30 minutes. That was a bit mad. I can't really put my finger on it. I'll try to in a bit, but like. Can you explain to me exactly what the hell happened there?
No, not really. And it is game management, and you're right to reference the first half an hour, because I think in the circumstances it was about as good as we could have possibly hoped for. So to reverse that and have that half an hour spell and second half is pretty inexplicable, and I think it's collectively individual errors. None of it seemed to work. None of it seemed to be functioning, and it was similar. We've thrown away 2-0 leads. Now, obviously, all's well that ends well on both occasions, but there's something not quite right there. I'm not quite sure what it is.
They always say 2-0 with one extra player is a dangerous scoreline. It's like that famous cliche.
But to the point, it should be completely in our control. It should be in our sphere. We should be thinking, okay, at what point do we maybe counter-attack and get the third? Because they're going to come again. They're not going to roll over. To the point about the narrative and what the game meant to them and how hyped up it had been. They were always going to keep coming and coming and coming until they couldn't do any more. But we should just sat back, countered, picked them off as and when, got the third, game done and dusted. But instead, we just gave them encouragement and we allowed the momentum to swing completely by giving away silly free kicks, by not being able to keep possession, by just giving them opportunities and reasons to believe again inside that stadium. And let's be honest, they didn't need much, did they, to cling on to, so I think it's really poor from our perspective. I'm not quite sure again what to put it down to, because I think both collectively in terms of individual errors and as a whole unit, nobody really got to grips with what was going wrong at that point. It just kind of unravelled and we never got hold of it until the very last moment.
It was interesting because I thought at times Liverpool were right. They were just getting the ball wide. Get the ball wide. When you're playing against 10 men, use your width. But then all of a sudden that kind of stopped. It was odd. What I would say though, Josh, is the goals come, especially the individual mistakes can hurt. You know what I mean? Liverpool were under pressure in that first half as well, but they were all doing their jobs just about good enough. You can't really legislate for individual errors. So on the first goal, for example, the defender the throw in quite well, the cross comes back in, and I've never seen a defender try and defend like that before. Kirk, he's facing the wrong way, he's trying to let it go past him. It's not like he's not like McAllister against Dan Burn where he's got no chance of winning the battles. What do you think's happened there with Kirk? Because that's a very strange decision he's made. And you can't even think about what he's trying. Obviously, he's trying to let the ball go. We know that, but that's a very strange decision for a lad to make. He's a young player, I guess, but yeah, odd.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's offering a piggyback to me. Yeah. That looks like what he's doing. I don't know why he turns his back on the ball. He's not up against the Giants, as you say, so we should go for it. But he's maybe got a bit of that about him. I've seen a few people compare him to Alberto Moreno. I think that's extreme. Alberto Moreno was bananas, mate. Absolutely bananas. Just not on this planet. But Kirk seems to be a little bit rash. He is 21. We need to remember that. 21 years old, mate. So he's probably got a bit of that decision making to work on. A little bit raw, but I don't know what he's doing. I don't. And he goes... I've been at odds with quite a few things I've seen so far from him, but again, he's 21, so you take this short-term pain with a view to you benefit from this kid for the next 10 years once he gets his feet under the table, you know what I mean? So weird, but yeah, 2 set pieces not good. It's
interesting as well, Luke, because actually last week we saw Bournemouth target him aerial, and he did really poorly, really. Semenyo, he struggled on. If you look at his stats on this game, he was really good at that regard. I did a few times, and he actually defended well. He did a pretty good job on Alanga. He got speed for pace once, but that can happen. Alanga's literally the quickest player in the league so far this year. If someone's faster than you, tough luck. But it does look like once or twice a game, and maybe that's where the Moreno stuff comes in. He's just going to do something a bit dumb. And again, it might just be because he is a kid and he's learning. And it's interesting because he was meant to be the Premier League proven, don't worry about it. Going by the left back, you've got a problem at left back. Going by the best left back in the league last year, and everything will be fine. And I think we're starting to see it's just so different playing for Bournemouth than playing for Liverpool. Yeah. Things maybe just needs to settle down a little bit, but to make that decision or lack of making a decision just shows something's not quite 100% clicking for him at this moment.
Yeah, well, like Josh says, he's only a young lad, but I think out of all the new signings, he's the one who's struggled most with the adapting to the Liverpool system and coming in playing for the bigger club. Everyone else seems to sort of move in somewhat seamlessly. I know Frimpong made a couple of mistakes last week against Bournemouth. But I think the Community Shield with question marks there already, and then the Bournemouth game, I think he kind of got a free pass because obviously he plays for Bournemouth. They're going to know how to target him, how to work a bit better. And I was surprised that the manager stuck with him moving into this one because there was a lot of shouts to say
there had to be Alanga's pace. That you can't have Robbo against that.
I know what you mean, but there was a lot of shouts to say we knew it was going to be a fiery atmosphere. We knew it was going to be a tough game. Is this one where you just chuck in the more experienced Andy Robbo? And I do agree, Alanga's pace would have caused him issues. but most of season veteran.
Semenyo's backward too. Like in the first 2 weeks, he has not had an easy. It's a baptism of fire. That like
it's been tough.
Semenyo and Alanga.
It's hurting necessarily. It has been his decision making.
He
flies into one at Bournemouth, and then yesterday's is not good. The Robertson thing's interesting, but he's been around the block so many times. Would you not just trust his experience and his nous to get him through those sorts of occasions and against the pace?
If it's Newcastle way last year, I reckon, like, and we have this team, you play Kirkers, I think it's just the atmosphere around the game. Like, there is a strong shout there for Robbo.
I think last season, though, we saw Robbo against Madueke, Saka, Garuda comes to mind as well at Brighton. And when he's up, because he's not so confident in his pace anymore, he retreats and drops the defensive line deeper, and I think that's what happens when you get older as a player. That's what happens when you come up against someone who you fear pace wise. So I don't really think the solution is just playing Robbo. I think you've just bought Kirkers for the reason to play him. Like,
£40 million left back play.
Yeah, I think you have just got to play him. Like,
I see the value in that, but I think it just can't cost you, can it? And it's almost learning on the job. You're learning on the job at a football team that's attempting to retain the Premier League and other stuff to go with it. It hasn't cost us yet, granted. I'm not suggesting it will, but
if you was to rank like the toughest opponents he's going to face over the course of the 19 teams that we're going to face, Semenyo and Alanga would be near the top, certainly at the top when it comes to pace.
I was going to say, Andy Robbo might not have done much better against those. He probably would have dealt with his best attribute. His best attribute is how he defends the back post. But it's Semenyo burnt him. You know what I mean? Semenyo been the whole game, and Robbo just come on. So I see the manager's point. I think it is a case with Kirkers, and it's probably the same with Vert, and we'll talk about him now, Josh, as well. These are just teething problems that happen. Not every new signing just comes in and just straight away, bang, straight on it kind of thing. It does feel like there's you mentioned a few weeks ago, like 4 or 5 new starters in the same team, another injury at back. Again, we haven't had our best midfield yet. It feels like Vert in particular, it hasn't been like the worldy start we all hope for. You just hope you're going to get on the ball game one and just run games. It hasn't quite been that for him. But again, young kid moving, there's loads of excuses or reasons for it rather. Yeah,
I think that's the crucial thing. With Vert, I don't have too many worries about him, like long term. I think he's a genius of a player, to be honest. But he says himself when he comes to England, the big thing he was not concerned about, but what he was expecting was the physical side. And to face Bournemouth week 1 and Newcastle week 2, when they absolutely hate us, by the way, you're not going to deal. If you're going to be limited for space and time on the ball, especially in the middle of the park, it's going to be now. So it's going to be probably similar against Arsenal, but I think beyond that, he will grow in the shirt, I think. And Liverpool also getting accustomed to playing with a proper 10 for the first time. And when was the last time we played with a proper 10, proper number 10? I can't even think of a time. Have we? You know what I mean?
It's been a long time.
Minute or something, maybe.
Lewis Garcia occasionally, maybe.
Szoboszlai is like an 8.5, really. Like more attached to the midfield department than the front line. I think Vert is more of a true 10, which floating all over the pitch.
Do you reckon it's Steven Gerrard behind Fernando? Yeah, this might be the last time we've played with. And
even Gerrard, it's a midfielder that really, as opposed to a forward. So. I think he's had some issues so far. I think he'll have been, but again, I go back to what I said before. He'll have already experienced the worst. Like, I think we've seen his flaw, is what I'm saying. And I think beyond this, you should grow in the shirt. Like,
let's move on then. Let's talk the second goal. It might have been hyperbole, granted. It was the 88th minute, and I'd seen 10 men Newcastle get back into the game. I said it might be the worst goal I've ever seen us concede in my life. And I said this, I've seen goalkeepers throw them at people's legs in cup finals. Yes, I've seen I've seen own goals. I've seen John Harris's own goal against Chelsea. I've seen us concede some absolute stinkers, right?
Burnley.
Yeah, horrendous. At least they were trying to clear the ball. Is my on all of these things, they were trying to get the ball away from our goal.
The thought was there.
A long kick up the box that no one touches until a lad tokes it in, Dan. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
No, it doesn't get much simpler, does it? It's very Sunday League, and it's not good. And
hard hitting analysis here at Redmen TV.
I'm trying to work out exactly. You don't see it, do you? You don't see it at this level. You know what I mean? They all don't let it bounce. Everything's wrong with it. Basically, literally everything that could possibly be wrong with that goal from a Liverpool point of view is there, as clear as day. It's just, it kind of sums up that spell we were having, that no one was really taking ownership of anything. Like, there was no guidance, even no leadership, no one, like I say, just willing to, like, no, let's fucking sort this shit out. Let's get to grips with what's going on here. Just a long, straight ball right through the heart of us, right through our spine, is allowed to get to the box, and someone just taps it in. Like, how can that be a thing? Like,
I think that the ball as well dropping over like a 6'3" tank in Canat. I think it's a bit different if it happens with like Lisandro Martinez or something, because it's just like you've played on a weakness there, but it goes over Canate and it actually comes off his back. By the way, it doesn't just like clear him. So it's like how can it miss your head and bounce off your back?
At your back?
Do you think he's just too bothered about Dan Burn and just getting it? Yeah, we spoke on the show earlier, Josh, on the final way, but like the comment was made, I think, by Ian. I think it was like he's trying to wrestle too much. Like he's that focused on Dan Burn that he's forgetting to do his job and head the ball, and that's two equalising goals to all, Josh. Now that Ibu's been pretty much at the crime scene of it, and it's fair to say you saw people who are having rough starts. It isn't going Ibu's way at the moment. It feels like he's struggling a bit at this moment in time. And when sometimes you just need a little bit of luck. When you're having a bit of a bad one, things just go your way. And you're not there when they concede the goal, but ultimately he's found himself twice now. Bang on, if not a complete fault, certainly around the fringes of both two really poor goals that we've conceded.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's had a bad start, but generally I find myself higher on him as a player than certainly the large majority of fans that you see online. I think a lot of people, from what I see, don't recognise the value that he offers. Like he's really, really quick, massive, good on the ball, good in the air, not amazing on the ball, but decent enough. Should offer more of a threat from set pieces, should be better defending set pieces as well. But so as a profile, I think as a very attractive centre half, I think good age, developing as a leader as well, more vocal and stuff nowadays. But does have that, like, I wrote a piece a few months ago. Like, the piece was called the Bozo Gene, right? And I think some players, centre halves especially, and goalkeepers tend to have this way about them where they just out of nowhere will just shoot themselves in the foot. Kwanzaa had it last season. Lovren, Otamendi, these are players that have got that nature about them where they just kind of out of nowhere will just kind of like stand on a rake and it'll just hit them in the face. Yeah. I don't think Canate is one of them, right? But there's evidence mounting lately that he's in a bit of a bad patch with stuff like that. And I think he just needs to go a few games without standing on a rake, basically. Because I think generally his all-round game, what he offers on a pitch and things like that as a player, he's at top level. Like, watch him against Brentford last season, away, absolute joke. But maybe the consistency is what I'm getting at. Like, sometimes we experience his flaws, sometimes we get the ceiling. Just if he's 8 every week, like Virgil, it's a hell of a centre half.
It's interesting because that's the thing with Canate, is that his best is unbelievable and his bad is rubbish. He could get to it. He could probably do with find at a point where that floor is just raised a little bit. Because I went back again. Like, you don't want to Everton when he gets hooked off at half time, or like that Beto game. He had these before Ibu where for some reason it just isn't going his way. And actually, even in this game, even though Liverpool winning 2-0, I think we saw early in the first half, like, he's having real trouble with Anthony Gordon. He got booked. He gets rolled by him a couple of times. It just felt like the easy one to make here is that his head's in Madrid. That's the easiest comparison to make. I think that's maybe a bit too simplistic because we've seen this from him before. This isn't this isn't new with Canate. He can have these like little dips in form. He's a very up and down, hot and cold player, but there is a transfer window open. We're going to speak about Mark Gahey later in the second half of the show. Maybe if anything's going to happen in and around that one. I think when Ibu Canate actually walked off the pitch, it was weird because Liverpool lost, but that Champions League final, and he was unbelievable. Or that like Brentford game yesterday, you get a play and you think, he's here for the next 10 years, unless he wants to go. Like, he doesn't sign a contract. I think now it's more a case of, you probably could get better, and that's a change in mentality for him to have to deal with, and the fan base, because it was never really a question about Canate, but it feels like it might be becoming one now.
Well, I think it's because when we signed him, he was sort of seen as like the long-term successor to the back line, wasn't he? He was sort of seen as like he's going to go on to be the commander of the back line, eventually, when Virgil stops playing. So yeah, I think it's really difficult. It's a bit of a shift in our narrative. I also think he's in for a little bit more harsh criticism because of everything that's going on, sort of, and it's recency bias as well with Trent going to Madrid, so that's sort of playing on all the fans' minds. But he is making a lot of errors. And I think it's a case of sometimes it's just, you don't have to be the man of the match every week, but you've just got to put in a 6.5 and a 7 and not make any mistakes, like Josh is saying, and just, it's building that confidence up. And he is in a tough spell, but I think bringing in Mark Gay might only, like, we definitely need a centre-back, but that could only exacerbate that. Because then you're sort of like, at the moment, I'd argue there's no competition for his place.
No, I agree.
Because Joe Gomez is obviously so injury prone, and Joe Gomez, when he comes into the side, he can have a run of 4 or 5 games where he's boss, but then he won't be available for the 6th. So I think there's no competition there for his place, and bringing Gay in could even make it worse. But we do need a centre back, and yeah,
it's worth saying, that the way the game went was not suited to Mark Gay.
No,
by any means,
too
mate.
physical,
So if the aerial stuff, the ball was in the sky the whole time, mate, and long throws, loads of corners. There was a period towards the end where they had like 3-4 corners in a row and like 4 or 5 long throws as well.
I don't think there's many centre halves in the world who could deal with it, and it kind of brings me on to my next point, Josh, of fucking hell, Virgil van Dijk's amazing.
Yeah,
absolute joy. Liverpool conceded 2 goals there, right? And I think he's the best player on the pitch by a mile. Like he did deal with it. He was the best thing. He was laughing about it. He was joking with it. But any time the ball went anywhere near him, I said before, 13 times he cleared the ball. That's a joke. You know what I mean? Ahead and everything. Like there are very few centre halves in the world, I think, who can cope with what Liverpool got yesterday, especially partly down to their own fault, granted. But the Virgil van Dijk bombs away, and it was just head, a block cleared, and it was just like on a different level. I thought he was. I said it was one of the best games he's played for us, and it's mad because we let 2 goals in. But without him, you probably lose that game.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I think he's just an absolute joke, isn't he? Absolute joke, mate. Serious centre half, good at everything, and I think in games like that when you're under the caution, like I saw a lot of rival supporters after the game on the likes of Twitter, like Arsenal fans, and that saying like, Liverpool always seems to win games like that, like survive games like that, and they seem to struggle to get to grips with like why, like how we do it. I think a lot of it's Virgil, I think a lot of it is just him soaking the pressure, heading everything away, clearing everything. The most vocal on the pitch as well. When we did get the ball and we actually were able to breathe on it, he made no mistake to put his studs on the ball and just relax and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's the exact kind of game that you worry about in a post-Virgil world. When he leaves, mate, there's going to be such a gap there for a player like that. But it's impossible to fill it because no one else takes responsibility. Like he was beating Dan Burn in the air. Dan Burn's 6'7", is he? 6'6". Outrageous, mate. Just so good at everything.
It's interesting, Dan, because you've got to want that as well. You talk about like that type of game. You've got to just look forward to it. You can shy away from all. You've got to. I know this is going to be. I'm going to embrace it, especially when the dance. Yeah, we know what's coming. They're going to send the big fella up. He's going to stand on us, and I'm just going to want it. It was like a proper captain's performance. Like he was in the ref's ear at times, especially in that first half. Like Luke was saying, going to the ref. That's what we did see that on ref cam. Like, mate, there's two. We're all playing here. Like, can you help us out a little bit? But in that second half, in particular, when it was. Especially I felt from when they scored the second goal, it was constant, and it was like shells coming into over a wall, or so it was mad, and it was just Virgil every single time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that spell in particular, once it had gone to 2-2 and it was there for the taking, it did feel like if any team was going to win it was likely to be Newcastle, just given the way the game had gone and the momentum and all that sort of stuff. And that's when they were absolutely bombarding, peppering our box. It felt like Virgil was on the end of absolutely everything, which comes down to 2 things. It's positioning, quality comes in there as well, but it is also that want and desire to be the guy. And the way he stepped up in them final moments was just exceptional. And you're right, you get that from being the best centre-half in the world, but also the captain. And being like, not on my watch. And that takes a special kind of footballer to be that sort of present and that this isn't happening, not while I'm here. It's just a joy to watch. And yeah, he makes it look so easy beating like Dan Burn as well. That is just like the impossibility of it.
He's such a good low block defender, like you don't see it because he's on the halfway line all the time. But when it's his job to defend the penalty box, like peak John Terry or something, or peak Vidic or whatever, He's so good at it, mate.
Just editing.
He's like a magnet. Everything just
There's
goes
a couple
through.
of the headers as well. One in particular I seem to remember was like under the crossbar, more or less. And the header he gets on it to clear is just out of this world. Like, and again, when you needed him most, he stepped up, because it did feel as though, as I say, felt like everything was going against us at that point. Nobody had really got to grips with what was going on apart from Virgil. And my word, like.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Just out of this world.
Can I just be that just negative just before we? It's gonna get positive now, isn't it? But like, just moving into next week, the long throw and stuff like that, the corners, and the week before, we're susceptible on the break. It's gonna be difficult because they're Arsenal are boss. Like, they are boss of corners. You know what I mean?
You've got to worry
We
about
need to be
that.
better.
Yeah,
in every facet of the game.
I'm
We've
okay.
Got to be levels above.
I'm okay with it being set pieces that you've got to fix than transitions. So I think like Liverpool fixed
Against
that.
Arsenal?
No, just in general.
Oh, I see.
Just in general, what I'm saying.
You might want the opposite.
Yeah, no,
against
what I'm saying is, I think it's easier to fix your set piece defending because you can. Liverpool can fix those issues. Like, Kirk's just challenges for the ball, and all of a sudden that isn't as systematic. I think maybe on the second one you can have a look at the line and why it was so high. Maybe that is something you can look at, but they're not things that are wrong with. Like, I felt against the Bournemouth game and in Crystal Palace in the cup, the goals we conceded were like problems with the system. Really, like, players playing through us or silly passes leading to too many men up the box. Yeah. Liverpool actually, I think yesterday, that's if a lad at the back post gets his head on it, and if Liverpool's centre half doesn't miss the ball, they're things I think you can. And with you, by the way, Arsenal will challenge on set pieces and they'll probably score because that's what they do. But I think if I'm a coach, I'm happy with that being the issue that I've got to fix. If I've got a week to fix that, I think I'm more comfortable than some other bits. Because again, next week, Ibu Konate can win them headers, and Kirkes can challenge Madueke on the back post, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I'm not worried because Arsenal are really good, but I think if that's how they're going to score, Liverpool can try and square that in their own heads. But you're right, it's not. Listen, they've conceded 4 goals. They've conceded 6. Not counting the Charity Shield now for this stat. They conceded 4 goals. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. We've gone a bit long, so first of all, shout out Dom Szoboszlai, brilliant. Yeah. Alison Becker, fantastic. Well, I was going to speak about them, but I am going to move on because we need to give Rio and the winning goal. It's the credit and the conversation it deserves. Josh, first of all, before you even get to it, like, it's a brilliant team goal. Like, if that goal is scored in like the 17th minute of a game to put you up 1-0, everyone's like, oh, it's kind of been lost in the shuffle of it being a child who scored it in the 100th minute. But like, every player touches the ball. Liverpool play through the lines. They find the spare man. Finally, in the 100th minute, they realise that they're playing against a team with 10. It's an absolute... Forget the drama for now. Just the actual goal itself is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is. To be fair, we didn't play much football during the match, but when we did, we seemed to score 3 times from it. So
maybe do more of that, lads.
Yeah, exactly. Play more football. Salah, the pass that he plays, he tries that a few times in the game, and there's one where he makes it to Jones, but it goes through Jones. Jones doesn't connect with it. But I think Salah's approached the game with the idea of, like, they're getting really tight to me. I barely got a sniff at Wembley in the Carabao Cup final. So, like, almost when he gets the ball with his first touch, he plays the pass inside to someone who's already on the move. As I said, he tried it with Jones, didn't work. Tries it to Szoboszlai, he steps over it. I think Szoboszlai is the only player in the team who dummies that, by the way. We know what his nature's like to just turn down shots, basically. Not going to get onto that topic, actually. But he does it perfectly in this one. And then the finish as well. Like, we've all had to go at that. They're so easy to sky, aren't they? They're so easy to just hit into the rose head because you've got under it and it ends up like a sandwich, mate. And it just goes into the sky. But he keeps it down. He guides it into the corner perfectly. It's such a cultured finish. Brilliant.
I've got the Opta analyst said here, every single Liverpool player on the pitch was involved in the goal. It starts down on the halfway line with Virgil van Dijk. It works its way through all the players on the pitch. It goes back all the way to Alisson, works its way round. Kirkes is involved there a little bit. Gets over to that right-hand side. Little 1-2s all over the place. Some fabulous touches from Bradley, from Chiesa, from Mo Salah, the dummy, like I say, from Szoboszlai as well. It was just like, it's a perfect goal. Like, if that goal is just like, if you're a coach, you look at that goal and think that is just perfection. That is what I want my team to do. Get the ball on the floor, work the space, find the angle, create an overload, little bit of skill, bang, goal. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, perfection is the word. Poetry in motion, as we would say. It is, and it's so not in keeping with the rest of the game of football as well.
It doesn't fit, does it?
No.
It's a bit like, have you seen that meme of like the polar bear in the desert? It's like, what's bro doing here? Like, what's this goal doing here?
Actual football doing
the winning goal should have been like the damn bear. Like,
been the other
one.
one.
That's how that game needs to end.
That would have been more fitting, absolutely. And it is. It's just everything, isn't it? Let's be honest. That every single facet, every single moment of it is just joyous. But the finish, I can't believe what I've seen. Like the composure, to be the coolest child in that stadium, in that moment, as the ball's coming across to you. Like, not only is the finish technically really difficult, as Josh rightly references, like we've all been there, we've all, saw the headlines and got it catastrophically wrong, but it's the moment, and he's seen it coming from so far away, and it would have been easy for him to get carried away. It would have been easy for him to be like, right, here we go, this is it, and then get it all wrong, or even take a touch or whatever. Like, honest to God, I can't get away from, like, people have drawn comparisons to Mbappe, because that's obviously the sort of finish he would historically make. They got all the hallmarks of it, you know what I mean? Like, it's an unbelievable moment, an unbelievable bit of football. Like, to have that presence and to have that quality at 16. Like, the kid's 17 this week. Like, God knows what I was doing on the week of my 17th birthday, but it wasn't scoring winners in the Premier League, I'll tell you that. Like, it's just... it doesn't really get much better than that, does it? 16-year-old, Premier League debut, coming on 2-2. Absolute chaos for the previous, nigh on 100 minutes. And then for the ball to come across like that from Mohamed Salah and use a finish like that in that manner is just... It's interesting. Blow me mind, like.
So, Luke, I'm going to ask you, obviously, the celebrations, I'm sure, were wild. Yeah. That's my next question, don't get me head. But, like, first of all, I really hope that he gives Szoboszlai the shout, because that's so cool if he has. If he's giving him a little over, because, like, leave it to me, mate, I'll box this off, I'll sort this. It's an unbelievable finish. Like the drama of the moment in itself, again, because of when it is, the narrative around it is almost superseding the goal, which is the point I keep going back to. Technically, it's outstanding. It's inch perfect. Nick Pope, for all his faults, he's massive. Mm-hmm. He fills that goal up. He's even more towards that side. Technically, for that kid who's 16-year-old to be able to do that, it goes to show. They've been telling us all summer, we need to keep a pathway open for this kid. Like, we could go and sign another winger because I'll be honest, I've been a bit talking about Luis Diaz. I think it was a mistake to sell him, and we'll find out in due course if it is. If they think this lad's good enough to be able to do things like that, then they've got every right to go, you know what, this is why we did it. Because that's a special goal. No,
in the ground it was mad. Like, it just felt like you're like something opening up, like someone had opened a gate. It was like everyone went into slow motion. You see the ball come across the box and he just stood there. Like, why he's left free at the back post is beyond me.
Well, because he's got 10 players, that's why.
Yeah.
Finally, Liverpool finally after 100 minutes decided, you know what we're going to do? Stretch them play and find the spare man. Genius, boys. But
yeah, it's just when it comes to it was like everything slowed down, and I was there. I thought he was going to miss it, like, because they are so easy to miss, and he just puts it away perfectly. I reckon his confidence is frightening. It's actually scary how much confidence he plays with. Like, he come on and he was already trying to cut in and take on a man, wasn't he? On the right side, not sure who it was.
At one point,
yeah, but like it's just absolutely terrifying how someone at 16 can just play with so much confidence. You think of young players coming on in a game like that. Obviously, yeah, they really want to make a mark, but it's also like, it's Premier League debut. I'm just not going to do anything wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I probably can't be the hero. These lads are a lot older, a lot more experienced than me. I'm just not going to put a foot wrong, so I don't have any harsh critics. No. In fact, I'll just go score the winner. Why not? It's just absolutely nuts.
There's an arrogance that comes with youth as well, Josh. They just do. Like, rightly so. Just go and play footy. What's the worst? He misses. Whatever. You know, like, I'm 16 playing for Liverpool. Like, these kids, and it's obviously Liverpool's youngest ever goal scorer now, which is a good record to take. He's obviously right up there with the youngest Premier League goal scorers in that mix as well. But he uses like that confidence of almost it's almost childlike naivety of just like, yeah, whatever. I play footy. My job, I just dribble at lads and I try and score goals. And there's an innocence of youth that kind of exudes. Like, even in the celebration when he runs away, he doesn't know what he's going to do. It's just like it's a wonderful moment for the lad.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You know that he wanted the chance. I think that's the thing. Like, because of the confidence and the self-belief in there, you know that he just wanted the chance. And when it did come through him, no hesitation, just dealt with it immediately. And as you say there, like, his first action in the game, he goes 1v1 against Liverpool, who's one of the best fullbacks in the league. So just an absolute top player, and has no fear of anyone that he comes up against. I don't think he has any realisation of how good he is, to be honest, for his age. There's that video, I've seen a video of Ousmane Dembele when he's getting asked, like, what foot you prefer to take shoot with? And he goes, well, me right. And then the reporter goes, but you take pens with your left. And he goes, yeah, well, I can shoot better with my left. And he's just got no idea how mad that is. Rio's just, he quite clearly never really faced a player who's better than him. By the looks of it anyway, that's how it looks. But I think Michael Owen had that in his early days as well, where he's just like, he's not used to having a problem coming up against anyone. So he just plays the same way every time. And
it's the reason he joins now. Obviously Liverpool poached him off Chelsea at the time, and Chelsea are fuming, and there's a video going around. He's a self-admitted, he was a Manchester United fan who was at Chelsea, who's moved to Liverpool to get opportunities like this.
Well trodden past that.
To get opportunities like in the team like this, where he thinks, Chelsea have got 1 billion players ahead of me. Maybe I've got to move for my career. Whoever's advised him, he's. I don't know how it's got to this point, or who at Chelsea missed what, or who at Man United, or whoever missed all this kind of things. But again, you don't want to go too overboard straight away because it's one kick of a ball in one game. But like I said the other day, there's certain footy players where you just see and go, yeah, he's clearly good. Like you don't need to do 2 hours of tactical analysis to just look at him and go, he moves differently, he strikes the ball differently. I've seen good young players, and I've seen good young players, and he's very much in that second half of like your eyes open when you see him. You can clearly see he is different than like a lot of these young players.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. The kid just got it, hasn't he? Let's be honest. And Chelsea were seething to have lost him and have stopped Liverpool going to watch academy games as a result, which is interesting. But yeah, the kid is genuinely exceptional, and I've spoken about him for a long time. But obviously I go down to watch the academy lads quite a lot, and what I will say, and I've said this a few times, we didn't really see it much last night. We saw it in glimpses. The guys mentioned him taking people on and trying to cut back, and his decision making's got a lot better, but he has come on leaps and bounds, which you will do at that age naturally, in terms of developments, even in the 12 months he's been at Liverpool, because it was fun to watch when he first arrived, because he wanted to beat the world. He wanted to take on everyone, but he wanted to do it twice. Like once he'd beat a man, he'd just go back and do it again because he could, ultimately. But now he does have the end product. And I've never seen him do what he's done last night. Not just in terms of like the scale of it and what sort of stage it was on, but he's never produced that level of finish as far as, and I've watched him play 20 odd times, I would say, in the flesh. And he's never produced anything like that. So to make that step up again just shows you how fast he's coming on. Like obviously he's training around the first team all the time now. He's learning all the time. He's got absolute elite level coaching telling him what to do. Because he spoke last night, I think to Peter McDowell, about maybe taking a touch in that situation and always being told to arrive at the back post or just arrive at the back post. It's just honest to God. And the joy with which he does everything. You could see how much it meant to him. You could see, as you say, he was just buzzing, running off, not having a clue. We never even thought about what his celebration is going to be in that moment. Let's be honest, the kid's 16. Like, it's just the innocence of it all, as well as the quality, is just what it's all about for me. And to do it in that moment, like I say, dear me.
Before I get into it, Luke, talk to me about that away and when that goes in. What is it? Is it
mad,
bedlam?
Yeah, I've put some clip up. It's done. I think it's done about like 400k or something.
Go on, tell people where they can find it. You can get a plug.
It's on my Instagram and TikTok and stuff.
What's that? Tell people.
They know. I'll comment on the video.
They know.
All right, sauce.
I'm the big man, no. But there's this fella who's like, I think he's trying to get to his mates, but he's like climbing on the railings and he just goes head first, like right down to his mates, like he's diving somewhere, and he's just lost and you just can't see him anymore. But yeah, there's absolute bedlam. Like my dad went early because he does the bus, so like he wants to get a head start on the stairs, and he said like he got to the bottom, turned the corner, and as he turned the corner he just heard it, he just like had to do a double take and missed all of it, so I felt terrible for him. But yeah, I was going nuts. Do you reckon it's mad that like he's just going to get a Delta to training tomorrow? Like some poor cabbie's going to take him to training. I hope it's a blue.
Yeah,
I mean, it's GCSE results last week, bro.
He's year 12, isn't he? Or something. It's stupid. It's absolutely crazy. Right then, they say we're going to do this. Where does it rank, Dan? So Liverpool have constantly broke Newcastle hearts, late winners. I've got a list here. Go on. I've got Collymore in the 4-3 in 96. Yeah. Fowler next year, 4-3, 97. Divock Origi in 2019. And then actually, bit of a Carvalho, August 22. Yeah. Darwin Nunez, August 23. And then Rio and Gamoa, August 25. It might be number one for me.
It might be number one for me as well. And recency bias is clearly a huge factor.
Oh yeah, but listen, we can be recency biased as well. Do you remember the earlier ones? You two, you're quite young.
I don't really remember the Fowler one. Like the Collymore one's massive, mate.
The Fowler one's the year after.
Yeah, but I don't really remember it, to be honest.
Okay, so I reckon I'm gonna.
The Collymore one's huge.
Yeah. Shall we put Carvalho bottom, with all due respect?
Yeah, and that was at home, not all in the home.
It was at Anfield as well.
I have a great memory of that as well, because I didn't go to every game, but that one, like, I swapped my ticket with someone that week, and I was in the Lower Kenny, And I was just sat next to some like woman who had like, I had no idea who she was. She's probably about 50, 60. And we scored the goal, like, and I've just like, she's just like falling on me. I'm like trying to make sure she doesn't hit the deck. Like, it was funny, but yeah, it was a good one. That
It was a great moment.
It was a great one.
It was a great moment.
The fact that it's 6.
Yeah, shows you.
Yeah.
That was the one Newcastle.
Do you know what they played awfully that game as well? Like they probably just come to the draw.
Time wasting game.
Time wasting game.
97th minute or whatever. Like, yeah.
Was that Isak's debut? Did he? Maybe I can't remember.
No, it was the
different
Japanese
game.
debut.
He did score against us on his debut.
Yeah, he's just so right. We've got Carvalho 6. You don't remember how he far. It was a great goal, Ed, but we'll put that 5 then because if it's not memorable, it can't be in there. We've got to go next then. We've got left Origi, Nunes, Rio.
Yeah.
Anyone?
And Collymore.
And obviously Collymore. Yeah, they're the ones you've got to talk about. I'm tempted now.
Let's go Darwin.
It might be. It should be. Origi's was amazing. But then we didn't win the league.
Origi's was
we didn't win that with Nunes either.
No, we didn't win anything new. And the Origi one felt more significant because of what it might have meant.
Darwin's. I
think Origi gives us a kick up the arse from
What did the Collymore one mean?
Which Man United won the league.
Maybe we won 4-3.
We won 4-3 Man United. It ultimately cost Newcastle the league, and Man United ends up winning it. But it's an iconic moment.
Yeah, it's a moment.
It's a Premier League moment, isn't it?
Yeah, but still,
I'm gonna say Origi. Does anyone have any?
What minute was Origi?
86. It was the one when Shaqiri flicks in, he heads.
Yeah, I remember the goal. I just wondered what minutes it was like.
Yeah, and because it wasn't as late, I think, and it was a great moment. But and Divock's got enough moments.
Yeah,
I would go with Origi. I would go with Origi.
Shall we say Darwin 3 or Collymore?
I mean Collymore.
Or Rio, by the way. We're just presuming.
What minute was Collymore? You know,
90th minute, like last minute. It was an iconic goal. Is Rio above that?
Yeah.
For you, yeah?
Yeah. Match week 2. I don't know. I reckon it's too hard. I reckon it's hard, that. Match week 2. Like, if we go and win the league, yeah, it's going to be massive, isn't it? We don't know yet, do we?
I think many of them meant a lot in the grander scheme of things, you know what I mean? Really?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking iconic moments. It is, he's a child scoring a goal.
He's 16 on his Premier League debut, Liverpool's youngest ever goal scorer in the 100th minute, with all the narrative and the subplots to last night.
Can I just say with Nunes, we were down against Nunes, we were down to 10.
Yeah, and we were down a goal, though. And down a goal,
came back
twice. The same finish.
They're not his finish, really, are they? They're the opposite of what he would normally.
Two identical finishes.
I'm going to say...
But it's still Rio.
Anyone?
16 years old.
I'm in disagreement with me. I think it's Nunes. I'm Nunes all day.
Nunes won.
And Nunes above Rio.
What's the chat
I can't really judge on Collymore because I'm not alive. So
as Alan says, yeah, Collymore won technically, put Liverpool in the title race, and then they lost their next game. Yeah, that's kind of how Liverpool in the 90s did. If it was me, I would go Rio 3, Nunes 2, Collymore 1, and it's because of the 10 men thing. Yeah. Yesterday we were playing against 10.
Yeah.
Nunes, we had 10.
Yeah. I think it's also like because Nunes has left as well. Like when I think of Darwin Nunes, that's the goal I think of straight away. That game.
Yeah, that will be it. Yeah.
We've got a comment here that says Rio 1, Nunes 2, Collymore 3.
Nunes has got a few though, to the point about moments. If that's
Freedom says Rio 1, Collymore 2, Nunes 3.
I think with the Rio one, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's game 2.
And it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So like
we need to make a decision. Yeah.
I've made mine.
Okay.
I'm happy to be outvoted, obviously, but I just don't.
What's your number 1, guys? And we'll work back from that.
Well, I'll put Collymore 1 for you because, like, I can't.
I honestly can't.
I wasn't alive. I can't put Collymore 1. So
I can't separate the 3.
Okay. I will be the judge and adjudicator. We are going 6, Carvalho, 5, Fowler. Put this camera on me, Aaron. I want the camera. 6, Fabio Carvalho. 5, Robbie Fowler. 4, Divock Origi. We are going to go 3, Rio and Gamoa. 2, Darwin Nunes. And I still think I'm going to put Collymore in 1. I think it's the iconic moment.
The commentary is probably best for
I think Collymore probably does have to be 1.
Yeah. And I only say that with all due respect to Rio, and it's because we were playing with 11 rather than with 10 against 11. So I'm going to go with that one. But let us know in the comments section your thoughts. Yeah, ranking those 6 devastating moments for Newcastle. Sorry, Newcastle fans. Right then.
They're pretty chill. They'll be all right.
Yeah, they're fine. They know for their calm nature on the internet. Yeah, they're absolutely fine. Stay out of my mentions. Right then, we are going to go to a quick break. We've been going for a while, actually. So we're going to come back. A short chat about the transfers. Funny enough, my pissing more Newcastle fans off. See you in about 45 seconds. Hey everyone, how would you like to win this? Hold it up for them, Errol. This is a Liverpool shirt signed by 2 icons of the football club, Steve McMahon and Ronnie Whelan. Medals and trophies galore. At the end of August, we'll be giving that shirt away to one of our Redmen Plus Legend subscribers. If you want to be in the draw to win that, and every single month we do these sign competitions as well, head on over to redmenplus.com, become a Legend subscriber, you'll be in the draw. If you are one of our Captain subscribers, simply upgrade your account, become a Legend, and at the end of August, Errol, someone will be winning what is an absolute beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, we love this.
redmenplus.com, become a Legend. Welcome back. Yes, that's enough of the game for now. I'm sure that it's going to be spoken about for a long time, but we are rather going to speak a little bit about transfers in this section. And we're going to talk about Alexander Isak. Sorry, Newcastle fans, it hasn't been the greatest half an hour for you guys. Or the greatest last 24 hours, if truth be told. The latest then on Alexander Isak, according to reports. I saw Lee Ryder's report today down for the Chronicle. Obviously, Newcastle's owners, or the official co-owner, Jamie Rubin, was one of them, went to his house, tried to convince him, and according to that report, he's told them, no, like, I want to leave. Fabrizio Romano is still reporting now. Alexander Isak is still fighting to join Liverpool. He is pushing for the move. There are crucial hours ahead. There needs to find a solution between all the parties. Ultimately, it's Newcastle's decision, and we're in that world where if they don't sign strikers, they might not say no. But do you think any significance? Because obviously the owner's gone round there, or someone's gone round to his gaff and said, come on. And the fact that he's pushed back against that just shows like that is a new wrinkle in this.
No, massively so, yeah, and it shows you, if we didn't know already, the strength of feeling from Isak's perspective in terms of how desperate he is to... I'm reticent to say desperate to leave Newcastle. Desperate to join Liverpool is probably a better way of framing it. I don't think for any football club who come knocking this summer, he'd have been making the same movements and acting quite the same way. It is us, and we are the Premier League champions, and Newcastle fans won't like to hear that, because it's never nice to be told where you are in terms of the pecking order, but that's the truth of the matter. So yeah, I think it is significant in terms of... Because that meeting... or the reports of the meeting pre-game last night didn't worry me necessarily, but I was a little bit like, have they managed to convince him? Have they given him something here in terms of promises, new contract or whatever, in terms of the project? Who knows? Have they managed to sort of talk him round, and can they now reintegrate him? Because that was sort of the messaging, some of the wording coming out. Clearly not. Clearly his heart is still set on the move, which can only be a positive. Unfortunately, when it comes to what Romano's just said there, all parties coming to an agreement on this doesn't just involve Isak and his representatives, Liverpool and Newcastle, etc. It seems to involve Wolves, Jurgen Strand-Larsen, Johan Visser and Brentford as well. So there's a lot of parties who need to be satisfied for this deal to become a reality, which is annoying at this point, actually. Liverpool have done quite well in terms of just backing away, I think, post £110 million bid, and just sort of letting the noise play out and letting Newcastle try and do what they need to do. But ultimately, and again, Newcastle fans won't like hearing this as well, they've well switched off by now, it is their failings this summer in the transfer market. And it's their inability to get players across the line and convince players that they're the club to join that's meant that we haven't got our top target, it feels like, which can only be seen as problematic, I think, for us.
I suppose, Josh, again, the Strand-Larsen thing, isn't it? They're adamant that's a Callum Wilson replacement, the Johan Visser thing.
How irreplaceable is Callum Wilson?
I know, yeah. Callum Wilson had 3 shots last year and had to sign like 28 goals to replace him. I don't quite believe that, but...
I saw someone say yesterday, Wisser is the Shola Amiobi replacement.
they still haven't found that for Tino Asprilla replacement that they've been looking for a while.
Oh, Christ.
It's the issue here, Josh, is that it feels like, obviously we know the replacements and there's a week to go. How much stock do you put in the fact that the owner's turned up at his house, or the co-owner, PIF have turned up on him, and for him to say to him, I want to go? Because I think the message out to Newcastle for a few days was, we're going to reintegrate him, we'll welcome him back. You know, their statements at the time of his statement was like, yeah, we can't wait to have Alexander back and integrated into the team. For him to look the owner in the eye and say, I want to leave, I wonder how they take that. Do they take that as, fuck you, or do they take that as, fuck you, we can go? You know what I mean? Because these guys, probably billionaires who are maybe or maybe not connected to states and royalty and leadership, don't hear the word no often. And you wonder how is their reaction, fine, whatever, do without, or is it like, double down, you're staying, mate? That's kind of feel like where we're at with this now. It is that's where the impasse is, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it's about time. To be honest, it's about time that someone sat down with him in power and said, so do you definitely want to leave then, yeah? And then if the answer is still yes, sell him. It's as simple as that. But the problem is they've been in denial the whole time that it's an inevitability, that they have really dawdled, and they've you know, I think they should have, apparently they've known this for a long time. They've known this for like since before the window opened that Isak wants to leave and stuff like that. And I think their issue stems from they're not accustomed to being in this spot where they have to sell their best player. It hasn't happened to them. The one player that they had that everyone wanted was Shearer, and he stays for his whole career. But Liverpool have had it with Sterling, we've had it with Torres, Alonso, Mascherano, Suarez. We're very Coutinho.
Sterling.
We're very used to being in the position of. It's not personal, by the way. If the player wants to leave, it's not because he wants to get paid or he's a Judas or whatever. It's because his level is outgrown where you currently are, and he wants to win. And it's as simple as that. And Liverpool had that multiple times. You don't have it now because we are currently winning. And we're still getting it now with the likes of Trent, by the way, and maybe Kanate and that. So it's a food chain thing. It happens. But everything about their behaviour all summer has, told me that like they don't really know how to do this, how to handle this. I think they've been in denial at the fact that he's got 3 years on his contract means he's essentially a prisoner and has to stay. Players have a lot more power than that nowadays, so I think they should have moved a lot earlier when it comes to getting the targets in, and they've been unlucky with some of them, to be fair. I think the targets are good players, but they've been ambitious with that, but haven't got them over the line. I think Nicholas Jackson would be someone I would be going for if I was in charge over there, but for some reason you don't want him.
No, I think there's reports about him as well. They're buying a sniff around.
The problem there is though, Josh, you have to be spot on what you say, but it's the people who were meant to be in situ doing that aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
That's the issue, isn't it? And that's on them as well, obviously, of course it is, but they may well have been able to act more accordingly, but just haven't had the people in the building to do so.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see how it all pans out. But I must admit, I was very optimistic a few weeks ago, then it was a bit more pessimism. I wonder, I'm teetering a little bit towards more positive now. But again, I thought, like we said before, the owner's going to turn up at his house, he's going to go, you know what, Sam? Yeah, I'll stay. The fact that it looks like it's being reported, Luke, that he's told them, nah, I want to go. It feels like that could be quite significant. Where are you on your hope of a Liverpool signing Alexander Isak meter? Are we?
I think if they've got anything about them, it's a matter of days, isn't it? Because why? If you're going to keep him and let him rot, then that's just an ego thing, isn't it? Like, because you could make your club 130 million by the sounds of it. And yeah, no, they want to push you 150 and all that. I think 130 million for the football is a joke, by the way, but that's just the way the market is now. Like, you're just going to have to pay that sort of money. So yeah, I just think it's really, really weird, to be honest. I think the targets as well, like 50 million for Larson, I think that's a great deal, but I think other clubs are just inclined.
Wolves disagree.
I think the other clubs just inclined how to take the piss because they know they're going to have loads of money. Like, you can say all you want, like, oh, Larson's not the Isak replacement, but he's going to be, isn't he? You know what I mean? You're essentially buying to replace.
Yeah.
There's also
funny
like
that they keep saying it though.
Yeah, like, but
he's replacing Karen Wilson. Just keep saying it every single slide.
If you don't sell him and you keep him until January and he doesn't play a game, and Liverpool still paying 130 for him in January, because I tell you what, why? He's not going to be fit. You know what I mean? You'd be saying he's not fit, but only giving you 100 or 80 or something like that.
I'm fascinated because you are dealing with normal football people. This would make sense. He'd be gone. Yeah. You're owning with PIF on the side, and with no real structure. It's Eddie Howe's nephew or something doing the transfers. Like, I don't know how they are so unpredictable that you've got no idea what they're going to do. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let's move along then, guys. Let's talk about Mark Gahey. Josh, I'll start with you. So again, widely linked. The reports again this morning was City were in for him, but he still wants to move to Liverpool. Everyone's quite comfortable around the situation. It feels like Liverpool are going to get him. It's whether they get him this window, January, or on a free next summer. That's the hold up here. Does this just go back to the fact that there's no way Crystal Palace, surely, if he's not going to sign a contract, we'll be able to keep him till Monday? That's just for them. And I understand they've lost Eze and they're going through bits and that, but they've been linked with Akanji, for example, from City today. This one feels a little bit more straightforward, you would guess. Yeah,
I think it depends a lot on the player. Like, I think he doesn't seem to be aggravating for the move, but he also seems to have made the position clear that I will be leaving on a free if you run it down. So I think given Palace's position, they would want to get money in and replace him. I think Akanji would be more of a ready-made replacement than I expected. I thought they'd go down the route of a project maybe, but I think someone like Akanji would please someone like Oliver Glasner maybe, you know, who I think is thinking about his system and seems to be really ambitious with the level that he wants them competing at based on his comments in the media and stuff like that. So I think that would be a win for all parties really. I think that's been the biggest concern, just like getting through the Europa League, the Conference League qualification or that sort of thing. And then replacing him with a player whereby the system doesn't suffer. And I think Akanji would be a sound Atlanta to that. So I think if that one happens, then Gay probably gets the green light to move. But it depends. It's similar to the Newcastle one. If they can get a striker and if Palace can get a centre half in.
The difference with that one, I suppose, Luke, to move on to, is like Newcastle know, yeah, they might not get £130 million for Alexander Isak, but he does still have years on his contract. They're not going to lose him for free. If Palace get to January, he's worth half of that again, and then they will lose him for nothing in a year's time. And can they, as a football club, afford to just swallow a £35 million debt? You know, a lot of clubs in that similar position, and this feels like really egotist or whatever. They that's their job, is they develop players and then they sell those players for good money, and they go and, you know, like they've done with Gay's actually younger, and the issue they're going to do, the issue is that they didn't sell him last year, so they're getting less of a fee. It feels unrealistic to me that everyone would be happy, unless Mark Gay says, by the way, I am staying and I am not signing the contract. No, I don't care what anyone else says. I fail to see a world where Crystal Palace are happy to let this roll on. Surely they take the money.
Yeah, I reckon they need to take the money for him, though. They know they've just got that big fee for Eze, but I suppose just to play devil's advocate, the argument if they don't sell him might be like, oh, we're probably going to go. They've got a good crack at winning that Conference League, and they're probably thinking if we win that, you know, we could be in the Europa League, given none of the other teams that our owner owns or whatever the mess is qualify. So maybe that's maybe the counter argument of like, oh, we can probably afford to swallow the loss if so, but it would be silly business. Like there's no dancing around that. It would be stupid. They should probably just let him go and bring the money in. And Akanji's probably he is ready-made replacement, like Josh was saying. Be interesting to see if Akanji's confirmed that, because he was tweeting Romano, wasn't he, the other week ago? Galatasaray saying, don't know where you got this from, mate. So I'm sure he'll confirm overnight tonight.
Yeah, we'll find out. It might be absolute nonsense. By the way, I want to go back to this one. This goes back to Isak. We had a few more comments. By the way, they've been offered Vlahovic apparently as well. Is another one now. A new name on Newcastle forward.
Who's replacement is he? Sorry,
he'd be at Juve, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah. So Strand.
I went over my head.
Strand Larson replaces Callum Wilson.
Okay.
You get Visa in to replace Shola Amiobi.
Vlahovic for Andy Carroll.
Yeah. And then
Solano in there.
Yeah, and then
You see Calvert Lewin's there.
Jacob Ramsey already in to replace Nobby Solano. Yeah. Vlahovic replaces Andy Carroll.
David Ginola shaped hole last night.
I want to mention this because and again, this, feel free. I was speaking to a football agent the other day. I can't name names.
Oh
no, I can't name names.
So there's no.
No. I'll tell you this off air, right? And this agent told me he said, if Newcastle don't sell Alexander Isak, it is a major red flag to agents across Europe about sending players to Newcastle. He said, unless Newcastle is the best, if you've got a player you think the best he's ever going to do is Newcastle. Newcastle's a fantastic football club and people can go and earn a lot of money and have really good careers there. For example, Anthony Elanga, that might be his level. With all due respect, can he go again? Maybe, maybe not. If you've got a young lad in Spain or in Portugal or in France, the reason he comes to the Premier League is because they want to come to the Premier League. Of course, they'll be well paid and they'll play well for Newcastle. But the aim is ultimately they will then want to be sold and they'll want to go to
the destination, whether that
Real Madrid,
yeah.
Barcelona, it could be Liverpool, it could be Arsenal, it could be Manchester City, Man United, whatever, in that regard. And he did say to me that he knows for a fact that there's agents all over Europe talking about this, and it could be really harmful to Newcastle if they don't sell him. And again, I understand people thinking, this is a scouser, Sports Liverpool saying this, it's bollocks. I promise you it's 100% genuine. I had the conversation, and it is something that no one's considering. It's why Brighton don't turn bids down. Now, they put astronomical fees on players, but Brighton have never rejected bids and said, you are not leaving. Crystal Palace did this with Zaha, and it came back to hurt them a little bit, and they eventually worked their way around it. But, like, for example, Belieber for Brighton, like, we don't want to sell him, but £100 million, you can have him. And
I think Bournemouth as well are a great example. They've just lost their two centre-halves to PSG and Real Madrid. So it says to incoming players, if you come here and give us a chance to develop, this is where you'll end up. Not just in the Premier League, but in like the top of Europe.
And it's difficult, Josh, because I get it, because Newcastle see themselves above that.
That's what I was going to say.
They are, but they're a little bit like us.
There's a period where you've got to be
15 years ago. Liverpool's history was bigger than Newcastle's, of course, but there was a while when Liverpool brought in Javier Mascherano and they brought in these, and if they didn't sell them, getting the next ones, it just becomes more difficult because like players don't want to get, and it's horrible to hear, but you don't want to get stuck. So if I'm I know because he told me, if I've got a 22, 23-year-old thinking where can I go, yes, Newcastle's a bigger club than Brighton, and Newcastle's clearly a bigger club than a Bournemouth or a Palace or, you know, even Everton, for example, whatever, you square it there. If those teams show an ability to be reasonable and say, yeah, you can go for it if £100 million bid comes in, and also if you're not going to sell him, you have to be, he's £150 million player now. You have to give him £150 million player wages, which is 300 grand a week, and Newcastle can't afford that. So I had this conversation. It's interesting that I don't know if anyone's spoken about that yet, but Newcastle, I don't know if they're thinking about that because they haven't got a power structure down. But like smart people would be having these conversations going, if we say no to that, brilliant. We looked at ours and, no one bullies Newcastle, but the ramifications could be quite significant for them.
Yeah, and absolutely that. And I think the contract side of it, in terms of what he's worth, in terms of his salary, that's been sort of spoken about because one of the promises and one of the trusts that was broken seemingly was in and around that, wasn't it? But it's right. I think it does all boil down to what you perceive yourselves as. Because Tony Bloom's spoken quite openly about what Brighton are as a football club and their model, and the fact they bring these relatively unknown players in. They've done it from South America really successfully. They've done it with Believer as well. More recently, came from France, didn't they? And they'll sell them when the time and the price is right. Newcastle don't want to be that. Newcastle don't see themselves that. Newcastle see themselves as way above and beyond that. Now, perhaps prematurely, they are on the pathway potentially to becoming one of the superpowers in Europe and in England, but they're just not there yet. So it's a timing thing more than anything, I think. But you are right. I do think they will feel the impacts and the effects if there is nobody in the room smart enough, footballing wise now, to turn around and say what you just said there. If Paul Mitchell was still in situ, maybe he could have been the guy to say, do you know what, actually, it might be a bit of a loss, it might be a bit of a brutal one to take, but actually in the long run, it'll be the betterment of us to go and do this bit of business. We'll see. It's
worth mentioning, this is based on the fact that Newcastle are saying you are not for sale. If they say you're a £150 million player, you can go, then it's a bit different. But yeah, we don't know. Oh, there's £150 million, and I don't know where that's come from. It's just kind of being muted about because all of Newcastle's stance has been he's not for sale. So it is interesting, but definitely something that we're going to.
I just think it's just an ego thing. I just reckon Newcastle don't want to look like they've been bullied by Liverpool and Isak. That's all it is. But like you said, there's the period of time you've got to be that club because we were stuck in that for quite a while, moving the players on. But it's a period of time before you become that.
But when you're that rich.
Exactly. It's hard to look past that, isn't it? They think they're Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal already, but they're not.
They are in terms of bank balance. They're just not in terms of football power. Yeah. And that's a difficult thing to get your head around.
And going through the phases is tough, isn't it? It's hard to go through the phases, and the rules of the league don't make it that easy for them. And I completely understand, but it is definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Like you say, if it's doing more harm than good to have a player who doesn't want to be there. If he's not going to play anyway. And by the way, it could impact your future of getting the next Alexander Isak, the next 22-year-old lad from Sweden who's worked his way through Spain and coming to
the issue is that was Ekitike, wasn't it, to them for a while? Genuinely, it was that made the most sense until I'm glad we did, by the way, muddied the waters and went and signed the lad anyway.
Yeah, I think if they had the ducks in a row though, at the start of the summer they agreed that Isak's going, sanction the deal for him, then go and get Ekitike, and we moved from there, and everyone sorted 2 months ago. But because, as you say, the ownership, the issues, the structure and things like that, Dan Ashworth goes to Man United and Paul Mitchell falls out with Eddie Howe, and now they haven't got a sporting director and all that. It's messy. It
is very, very messy. It absolutely is. We'll find out in due course. Like I say, we're going to be we've got a transfer podcast tomorrow, so who knows by then what will happen. Right then, we are going to end this show very, very shortly. Thanks everyone for watching or listening. Stick around though. We are going over to Redmen Plus for the Redmen sorry, that's not what it's called at all. It's called the Redmen Biased Football Show. We're going to be speaking about Arsenal and their transfers and even more potential. Mikel Arteta signed a forward, therefore he must sign a defender. We're going to be speaking about Manchester City's defeat to Tottenham and plenty of other stuff. That is available over on redmenplus.com. If you want to watch that show or listen to it, if you head on over to redmenplus.com, join us as a yearly captain subscriber and use the promo code REDS when you do so, REDS. You'll get 50% off your yearly subscription. You get all of the buyer shows, all of the wonderful deep dives with Josh and usually Chris. It's me for the next one. Chris is back soon. Josh will be delighted with that one. You've got JNO Insights. You've got loads of content. You've got the player ranking shows as well. All available, half price. Go and check it out. For now, thank you very much to Dan, Josh and to Luke. Thanks to you guys for watching or listening. Catch you all next time.